Everybody enjoyed the evening. Some faces looking mean at me. Don't look mean. We about to laugh for a while. So everybody's married, except for some of them. They just want to have to understand what married folks go through. I really enjoyed Brother Lindsay talking about let him use you. That's what I'm all about. If you notice, I walk around with a smile. I let my wife use me. I let her use me for her. She looking at me shaking her head right now. And I just tell her, I want something else shaking later. How many men believe that look at your wife and say, I want something shaking? Yes, I see shoulders smiling. I see men smiling. So you want something shaking? So I paid for this. It's mine. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'm gonna give you some advice too as you go to the after party, right? So you know when you were in high school you had an after party. But this is a different type of after party, right? You're married now. So you can have a holy after party. And I'm talking about the holy that God does. You know, I want him to turn his back as I go into my bedroom. I don't need him looking at me. I don't want him to judge me on what just happened. I need him to just go ahead and turn it back from me. I know Pastor talks about we want him to look on us. Lord, turn it back as we partake in this fruit that you've given. That's what I'm all about. So, you know, some advice, because you may be eating some things that you haven't had before. Take your time, because what you don't want to happen is you've been looking at your spouse all night, thinking about getting home, and then your stomach gets torn up when you get home. And then you end up in the bathroom for 2 hours, and she done fell asleep, or he done fell asleep, and you took that blue pill, and so the heart rate is going, and you're thinking about if they move to get to bed, they're just sitting at the edge of the bed, just waiting for them to move. If they move, if they blink, I'm gonna jump on them. I'm gonna jump on them. I'm gonna jump on them. All they gotta do is just shrug their shoulders and we're going. I'm gonna give you some advice, right? So that while that happens, you may need that pill. If you take a baby aspirin instead, baby aspirin, it doesn't work as quick, but it gives you the same results, right? It regulates your blood flow. I see people writing that down. Baby aspirin, baby, write that down. Can you use store-bought aspirin? Can you get just regular aspirin, or does it have to be Tylenol aspirin? So baby aspirin will do the same thing, and you won't have the bad results. You said thank you. So I got some in the car, and if you need some, it's $2 for $5. Real good price for some baby aspirin. So that's some marriage stuff. I'm not going to be here for long. I want to talk about some church stuff. So, you know, we've wanted to continue to grow the church, and you have to be careful when you invite people to church. I think you need to kind of give them a little bit of information before they come, so that when they come, they're not completely shocked. And if you work with them, you end up in HR's office on Monday because they are worried about you and some of the things they've seen at church, right? If they've never been around a church like this, or you grew up holiness, they don't see that. And in honor of the theme that we have, we just had the Olympics in Paris. So I look at the Paris theme that we have, and they did a great job with this. The food, they did a great job. But like in Paris, right? Amen. Like in Paris, there was the Olympics. And you can see some of those same games at the church that we saw in the Olympics. Right? You can see sprints. Right? You'll see people sprints. You'll see relay races around the church. Right? You may see someone doing a high jump. I've seen someone do a triple landing backflip off the chair at church and stuck the landing. Right? So you'll see gymnastics at church, and then you'll see some childhood games that you grew up with. How many remember the game Red Rover, someone come over? Or send that person over. I can't remember. Y'all remember that when they make the chain and they try to break the chain? You see that at church too. The sisters and brothers will get around someone shouting, and that person look up and they're looking for the weak link. What chain they can break through, right? So you got 4 or 5 people holding, making sure that they don't come over. You'll see that. So you make sure that you tell the people when they come to church that it's just like a sporting event that you can participate in. Right? We can holler and scream for Jesus, but just like a sporting event, you can't get on the field, you can get on the field at church. You know, if you want to get into the Winter Olympics, I've seen people skiing at church. I've seen people swimming at church. I've seen it all. I'm thinking that we need to come up with a new Olympic sport. How many saw breakdancing this past year? And some of it was a hot mess. We saw the lady, seemed like she was in the spirit. I don't know what spirit it was, but she was in some type of spirit. I think we need a new event in the Olympics, and I think the Saints should be able to medal in this. It's called pick 'em up and put 'em down. Pick 'em up and put 'em down. This is the rules for pick 'em up and put 'em down. You can choose your own music. You get 30 seconds, and you get to pick 'em up and put 'em down. They count the number of steps. And just like in gymnastics, there's going to be some disqualifiers, or you're going to lose some points. Now, if your wig slide or get loose, that's a reduction. Right? If your wig hit the ground, it's an automatic disqualification. And so you can't shake too hard when you're picking up, putting down. If your teeth shift or drop, that's an automatic disqualification. You're out. Right? And if your clothes get loose, we're going to have ushers with that blanket. They're going to be there to usher folks as they're picking them up and putting them down. So I think we have some winners in the room that would medal at pick them up and put them down. And you can use props. You can use chairs. You can use rails. You can use people. You can use any of those things when you pick them up and put them down. How many would compete in that event? We got to compete. Some of y'all in the church, could you think that should be the event for me? As I get ready to leave you, I just wanted to, we're all married in here, except for some. And we're at different stages of our marriage. Some of us are now empty nesters. Some of us have, she said, Lord. Some of us still have children in the room, children in the home. Some of us, like my wife and I, we're empty nesters, but we keep our grandson every once in a while. And so I want to tell you a story that it's a cautionary tale, okay? And I'm going to give you two cautionary tales. One's about inviting people to church, and one's about when you have time for yourself and your spouse at home. So there was this guy, he was telling us a story about him and his wife. They had a young child, and I think they forgot they had the child. And so they were enjoying marital bliss. Y'all can use your imagination, you know what that is, right? Marital bliss. And this gentleman was focused. He was focused on the task at hand. He wanted to make sure that the marital bliss was blissful for him and his spouse, right? And so, while he was focused, his wife said, baby, Junior's in the room. That didn't stop him. He said, no, Junior's not in this room. She said, baby. And when he heard baby, that made him continue a little bit more. He thought she was sweet talking. She said, no, baby. And he said, oh, yeah, baby. Baby, yeah, baby, yeah. No, baby, Junior's in the room. He said, what? How do you know? Junior peeks around his daddy's back and says, hey, daddy. So Junior's been riding his daddy's back the whole time. What kind of focus must you have not to know that your son is on your back? What kind of concentration? What kind of eyes was he looking into to know that his wife, that his son was on his back? The strength of Samson he must have had to be able to still perform while his son was on his back. Now, I don't know what happened with Junior. Did he sling him off? He couldn't have got up because Junior was like, Daddy, what's that? What's going on there, Daddy? So, that's the story. So, lock the doors. Make sure nobody's home. Lock your doors, okay? Now, as I end, I want to tell you a story about inviting people to church. Now, I told you about how you got to give people a fair warning. You got to let them know this is the kind of church so that they're not shocked, they're not surprised, they're not running out the door when they see someone running around the church. They don't run into somebody not knowing what's going on. So, I have my youngest two kids. They're about 17 months apart, and then my nephew is in between both of them. And so when we were at a church that we were there for like 12, 13 years, and our kids were coming up in that church, and so they had to be 6, my nephew was probably 7, and my oldest son was about 8. Smaller church, 75 people. We were in a storefront, so we had the sanctuary in one part, and then we had the doors in the back. And so the kids, they would go out for children's church, and the service was highlighted. At this particular time, I usually play the keys at church, but we had someone there, and so I was on the drums at the time. And so the pastor came, he was giving his word, and the musicians got back up to assist the pastor. And for those that have been on the stage, or been on the altar, been on the pulpit, you see all kind of stuff when you're looking out at the people. you see people doing all kinds of strange things. I commend our preachers for keeping focused because I would be like the gentleman that came and was like, did the band go get smoke break? Yeah, I would be the whole time saying some crazy stuff up there. So anyway, the kids are coming out. So we've got young people at the altar seeking God. We've got older people on the altar seeking God. We had a young, I would call her, she's not quite a pillar, but she's on her way to a pillar. She was laid out, slain on the floor, right? Slain, just no one's bothering her. So the kids were coming out. And our kids at the church, they knew, okay, Sister Dugamon, she's down, not a problem. Keep on moving. Well, my nephew, we didn't give him the talk. We didn't tell him that someone slain in the spirit is okay. So I don't know if the night before his dad, my brother, they watched ER. I don't know if they was watching a medical show. I don't know if in school he took a CPR, advanced CPR
hilarious.
I don't know what he did. But all I know is I was on the drums and I watched him walk out. And he looked, and in his mind I had to hear him say, "You shall live and not die." No one's doing nothing. It's up to me. And so he proceeded. As he walked past her, he jumped in the air, turned, landed on top of her, he mounted her. Now he could have either did one or two things. He could have started hammer fisting her, thought it was WWE. That's not what he did. He started performing chest compression. Right there on the spot. Just, you gonna live. You gonna live. You gonna live. Now, I'm on the drums. I'm trying to stay in the pocket, but I'm like, come on, somebody give me. Randall was either praising or praying for someone on the altar. I can't remember. She was trying to get someone through. The young people on the altar came out the spirit immediately. Turned around, looked, started busting out laughing. He did not mind it at all. He's still pumped. The sister on the floor, obviously, she thought it was the hand of God on her. She's been single for some time. And so you can just see her. Yes, Lord, I feel it. Yes, Lord, yes. The hand of God is on me, yes.
It was so embarrassing.
And so finally, someone snatched him up out of there. He was fighting like, "No, I gotta save her. She's gonna live." He went, tried to get back to her, and she could still feel the hand on her. You know, 2 or 3 Sundays later, we started having an influx of older senior women in the church. So I'm guessing she went out and told them, "Listen, this church is with God. You can feel his hand on you. It feels like he's right there on top of you, pounding your chest." And she never was the same. Neither was no rush. So tell the kid if they're laid out on the floor, let them be, unless they know true CPR. Obviously he did. So that's my time.